Ladies and gentlemen, can I please have your attention? I've just been handed an urgent and horrifying news story. And I need all of you to stop what you're doing. Ladies and gentlemen, can I please have your attention? I've just been handed an urgent and horrifying news story. And I need all of you to stop what you're doing and listen.
What is going on, Canes fam? I am Matty Ice. He is Chris, and joining us from the background is Caniacs. He is here, just can't see him. That's how I like to see it. This is the Canes Call-In Show live. Chris, how you doing tonight?
I'm doing good. How are you, brother? Ready to rock and roll back with you guys and, pop back on the show and let's make some magic happen.
Yeah, man. Hey, I mean, at this point, we can talk all the shit we want on Caniacs, and he can't do nothing.
Yeah, he can't do nothing. Well, hey, you and I are gonna have to solo do it today, man. We're gonna have to make it happen, and we'll jive back and forth and do a little 60 minutes.
It'll be nice to have someone else helping me carry his old ass.
Because he can't defend himself. That's right. So Caniacs in the background. Caniacs is doing his production in the background. So you'll just see myself and Matty Ice on screen today.
Yeah, we've had a couple issues, and as you guys know, we aren't going to have Bo on. We had some technical difficulties both ways, so we're going to try to have him on in maybe like a month or so, try to reschedule because we have some other guests coming on as well. So hopefully we can do that. But yeah, man, I'm also, speaking of Bo too, man, I don't know if I told you this. I told Caniacs, but he is doing a piece for me.
You did. You told me when so we were doing some audio testing with him about an hour ago, and he was having a lot of connectivity issues. So we said, hey, let's scrap it. He dropped the calls a couple times twice, and I said, yeah, dude, when you told me you're having him do a piece, if you look right here over my shoulder, right there is my Bo piece that I bought 3 years ago. So yeah, what's he working on for you, man? You were kind of tight-lipped.
It's top secret. I didn't even tell Caniacs. I haven't told anyone. But I will say, when I DM'd him and told him what I wanted, he said it was a really sick idea. I don't think I've seen anyone do this before. So
okay. So so it's going to be behind you on the wall, right? It's going to be on that wall.
Yeah, it's going to be behind me. I still have to put some other stuff up too. All my stuff is in a different place. So like, I didn't think I was going to be able to record here. Yeah. So that's kind of the situation, under construction.
Sure. Yeah, it'll get there, dude. You'll have it soon enough.
Pretty soon it'll be like your wall.
Yeah, it'll be memorabilia everywhere. So speaking of, guys, since we're not going to have any guests on tonight, if you look at the bottom ticker on the bottom of the screen, you can see who's coming up on the show starting next week on the 11th. So Mr. Mike Harley, then we got Roman from OBB. We're going to do jazz right after that, talk some graphic design, and then we're going to end the month with John Michaels from 680 The Fan, also formerly the State of Miami podcast. So the next 4 shows are going to be lined up with guests.
Yeah, it's exciting, man. Getting all these people on that, have been so involved, and obviously you've been involved too on Instagram and stuff. So it's just been awesome as a fan,
For sure.
Yeah.
What are we going to start the show with?
I wanted to talk to you because obviously, so I was in New York, right? Didn't have that much connectivity. I watched some of the draft, but I kind of wanted to bring it up to you. Some of the names, guys that were drafted. What are kind of your thoughts overall of like where they landed, and did someone drop more than you thought? Did someone go higher than you thought? Kind of what was your thought process after?
Yeah, so I think as the month went on, and we got close to draft day, I think it was general consensus that everybody thought Jalen Phillips was going to be the first Kane off the board. And people thought, hey, is this going to go from 10 to 20, 10 to 25? Where's he going to land? And then, of course, he lands at number 18. So I don't think it's any surprise that Jalen Phillips was the first Kane off the board. If you think about when he came here 2 years ago, right? When he came onto campus from being medically retired and he basically sat out that 2019 season, he looked malnourished and he was, getting all this flack from all the FSU and Gator fans. And then all he did was put on 50 pounds during that offseason, transformed his body. Did. Yeah, all he did.
All he did.
50 pounds, he becomes a freak. And then what we see in the 2020 season, which had kind of a slow start, he only had 1.5 sacks and 4.5 tackles for loss through the first 6 games. So the last 4 games absolutely blows up, ends the season with 8 sacks, 15.5 tackles for loss. And, Manny Diaz was saying Jalen he's an effort dude. He's a dude that has the hand skills. He has the pass rushing skills, but he's a dude that when that effort goes, it's between Jalen and Jalen. So he made himself a first round pick based off of what he did this year. And, think about it. I mean, that's a blow up from the first 6 games to the last 4 games. So another thing I think about Jalen is he's an NFL ready body. So like people were saying, his skill set, he's ready to play on Sundays if NFL football was this Sunday. So at pick number 18, stays with the hometown Dolphins. I think it's a hell of a pickup for the Dolphins and for Jalen for sure.
So I kind of wanted to backtrack on something you said. Jalen was kind of projected the first Kane off the board. Obviously going back, Greg Rousseau announced that he was going to, forego the season as, a lot of players did because of COVID and everything. But there was a time, like, correct me if I'm wrong, he was projected as like a top 5, top 10 pick.
Yeah.
Do you think that that's more reflective of, a lot of people say, Jalen kind of overshadowed him in the pro day? Do you think it's because of that, or is it a mix of things with him sitting out, or what's kind of your thought process on that?
So I think when we looked at Greg Rousseau 2 years ago and we saw this unbelievable season, I think it's a kind of a combination. It's like the perfect cocktail, right? So he had this season where he didn't even start until the 6th game of the season in 2019. And then he just absolutely blows up, finishes second in the nation in sacks with 15.5. And not only second in the nation, but second in the Canes all-time single season sack record books. And I saw exactly like you just said, projections of him being top 5, top 8 in mock drafts that were, coming out over the past year and a half, and people were all about Greg Rousseau. And I think sitting out, which is a little bit of recency bias, right? Because you didn't get to see him in 2020. But if you look at the pro day, Jalen posted better numbers in the 40, in the shuttle, in the broad jump, his vertical jump, everything that he had was better than Greg Rousseau. And so I think it was a little bit of, he wasn't that hot at the pro day, but you had some recency bias. And then you had this dude that just came on and became a physical freak and transformed his body in Jalen Phillips. And you got to see him in 2020. You didn't get to see Greg Rousseau. So for me, I think he did fall because he didn't play in 2020, but he has 2 things that you can't coach. He has length and he has a motor. And I think that's why a lot of people were comparing him to Calais Campbell, a dude that slid to the 2nd round. But Greg Rousseau is a guy that if I bring him in, and I know Jalen Phillips is ready to start this Sunday and he's an NFL body, if I'm someone who took Greg Rousseau and I'm maybe the Buffalo Bills, I think about the 2 P's, a project and potential. So he's a project. He's a guy that you can get better. You can teach those fundamentals, converted wide receiver in high school. And he's a dude that has limitless potential that you probably can't even put a ceiling on right now. And I don't know if the same you can say for Jalen Phillips. So I guess in a long-winded way, I think not playing last year did hurt his draft stock for sure.
Yeah. It's crazy to think though, too, that he played wide receiver, right? In high school.
Yeah.
Just at his sheer size and, just how athletic he is. I think too, the thing that we got to mention too, and I think this gets brought up, but it needs to be brought up more, is Canes fans are always going to fantasize what if we had Jalen Phillips and Greg Rousseau on the field at the same time?
Yeah.
And I don't blame them.
Yeah.
Can you imagine that?
I couldn't because, what are you going to do then? You're going to put Quincy Roche onto the bench. Is Quincy Roche going to split time with Greg, or is he going to split time with Jalen? So we didn't get to see, the new version of the mega powers in Rousseau and Jalen Phillips playing together. But hey, both first round Canes going in the draft. And I'll have a little stat on that at the end of the show for our new stat of the week.
Yeah. So I kind of want to talk about, we kind of mentioned Quincy Roche. He went to the Steelers. I think it was round 6, pick like 216 and 2 something around that area. I think a lot of people thought he probably would have been like, I mean, Canes fans at least, maybe a round 4 or 3 guy, right? I mean, why do you think? What? Also, why did I forgot to bring this up earlier? Why did a freaking defensive end go in the first round with 0 sacks?
Yeah,
how does that happen?
I mean, if we want to touch on Quincy Roche in just a few moments and go in a chronological order, how did 8 tight ends get drafted before Brevin Jordan? How did that happen when Brevin Jordan gets drafted? I mean,
I saw a side by side of stats. I can't remember who the tight end was. Comparing him to Brevin Jordan. Who was it that got picked?
I can't remember. But I know who you're talking about. He had less than 10 catches.
Yeah, he had like twice as many production. And it was because, in the offense, he was mainly a blocker, but it's like, okay, come on, Mike.
Well, I mean, I thought with Brevin, I don't know. For me, I didn't think he should have went as late as he did in the 5th, but I understand the psyche and the logic behind it, right? Some people were saying that he was an undersized tight end at 6'3", 245. Maybe the 6'3" part, because there was tight ends going ahead of him that were certainly taller than that. But 8 tight ends go ahead of Brevin Jordan, and this is a dude that had 7 touchdowns, 576 yards last year, productive year. I think he never played a full season at Miami, right? He was part of that Storm 18 class that came in. He never played a full season over the last 3 years. I think his pro day also hurt him, and that was also by self-admission, something that he had alluded to, that he wasn't happy with his numbers. And then something I saw, which I found pretty interesting a couple times, the week of the draft, I saw different people that had some inside sources saying that he did not interview well, according to multiple GMs said that he didn't interview well. So if you're going to bank the future on a guy and you're going to throw it all in on a guy and draft a guy in the 3rd round, 2nd round, whatever, he hasn't played a full season in the last 3 seasons, but he has great production when he's out there. If he didn't interview well and his pro day numbers weren't maybe on par with some of the other tight ends, I mean, I could see him slipping to where he did now that I'm looking in retrospect, but it wasn't even 2 years ago in 2019 that Brevin Jordan was a John Mackey finalist. This dude was one of the top 3 tight ends in the nation 2 years ago. So to slide all the way to the 5th round was pretty disappointing, and I'm sure it was disappointing for all Canes fans to watch. Brevin Jordan is better than the 9th tight end in this 2021 draft class. And so, I can't probably speak too highly about the Texans QB room, but I think Brevin Jordan's going to remember those 8 names that got drafted ahead of him, and you'll see Brevin Jordan ball out on Sundays, and for that reason, for sure.
Absolutely. I think you brought up the interview, and I didn't know anything about that. That he, the rumors of him not interviewing well. They throw some weird ass questions to you. I don't know. Have you ever seen the examples of like questions they randomly ask you?
Well, I have, yeah. And what do you think those GMs and coaches, what do you think they were asking about his injuries and why he missed time? And once they got his medical reports back and they started diving in on those types of questions. So depending on his answers, that's a job interview, right? You're interviewing for your career, and you're going to have to answer some tough questions when it comes to injuries. And maybe they just didn't like what they hear. But I think on the flip side, Quincy Roche sliding all the way to the 6th round, I don't know. He couldn't have went to a better team. I think he went to the better team than Brevin. Obviously, he went to that, Steel City, that, Steel Curtain defense. So Quincy Roche's a technique guy. Does he have the athletic ability that Greg Rousseau and Jalen Phillips do? No, he doesn't. But he's a dude that's fundamentally sound. He's got the motor. He does all the right things, and he's disruptive in the backfield. He's absolutely disruptive. So did I think he was going to go ahead of the 6th round? Absolutely. I thought maybe he was a 3rd or 4th round at the worst. So 6th round, it is what it is. And now it's time to just ball out.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I got to bring up something, man, that I'm upset about.
Yeah.
Jose Borregales did not get drafted, which it's like, okay, he's a kicker. It's a, specialty position.
Yeah.
But the fucking kicker from, excuse my language, the freaking kicker from Florida
got
drafted ahead of him. And
Yeah.
you look at their stats like combined. I mean, his career numbers are definitely better than Jose's, but I think Jose had a dominant, last season for Miami. Um, and it's just kind of interesting to me, like that guy from Florida, what the heck is his name? Evan Mcpherson. He struggled from longer ranges. He was like 6 for 11 from outside the 40, and that was kind of where Borregales excelled. So I was kind of surprised to see if a kicker was selected, it wasn't him.
Yeah, I think we were all surprised. This guy wins the Lou Groza award, and then hey, he doesn't even get drafted, and you have some scrub ass from up north in Gainesville get drafted ahead of him. We're talking about the Lou Groza award winner. So I think 40 yards to 55 yards, Jose Borregales is automatic. And if he gets his chance, I know the Bucs signed their kicker to a nice new deal, a new restructured deal. I think Jose will find himself on the field this year. That's the best leg in college football last year, so there's no doubt about it.
Yeah, Kaniacs just said too. I don't know if he's a Buccaneers fan. So he's like,
I did not know that.
He's like probably gonna get a Super Bowl year one.
He might. So I mean, yeah, that's what we have for that's the draft rundown, man. So pretty awesome to get those first rounders in there, and then we'll see what Brevin and Quincy do.
I mean, I think we're gonna hear more names next year, don't you?
Yeah, absolutely. When you think of dudes like Mike Harley, who will be on this show next week, Bubba Bolden, think about a Charleston Rambo, what he's going to do if he has a killer year this year, and then the Navon Donaldson and Zion Nelson talk on the offensive line. So I think based on how this 2021 season goes, there's some serious potential for, the Canes to get on the first round board. Absolutely.
Yeah. There's a couple Canes topics I wanted to bring up, and if you guys are listening too, by the way, feel free. You want to join in, you want to ask a question, let us know. We'll answer it right away. This kind of changed the show a little bit since Bo isn't on. So
yeah,
as much as you guys want to get involved, we'd love to have you.
For sure.
But I wanted to bring up last week, I believe the news hit that N'Kosi Perry was decided to transfer to FAU. What were your thoughts?
Well, I think you knew that he wasn't going to come back, and
yeah.
That was a foregone conclusion. He's not going to rise above De'Aaron King on the depth chart, so he definitely wasn't coming back. But if you look at his career, this is a guy that basically went 24-10, 24 touchdowns to 10 picks over his 3 years with Miami, and he had a 52% completion percentage, which is a little rough if you want to say you're a D1 starting quarterback. So that's about 12% lower than De'Aaron King was this last year, 64%. So yeah, I mean, N'Kosi, he had a great career at Miami. He obviously had a topsy-turvy career. One of the things that I love about N'Kosi Perry is I love his arm. And I love that when he was out there, he's a slinger. He's got that Brett Favre gunslinger, and he's not just about the intermediate passing route. So he was always willing to throw that 20, 30, 40 yards down the field. And, as Miami Hurricane fans, and we've been fans, our whole life, you're always going to be remembered by what you did against Florida State. And N'Kosi Perry threw for 200 yards and 4 touchdowns with 0 picks in that 2018 comeback win. And that was a 21-7 second half that the Canes put together behind N'Kosi Perry. So that was just a hell of a game. And if you think back to that, kind of all sparked by that red wine hit when he took out Francois, hit him right underneath the chin and just busted him up. I mean, that night he'll be remembered for the rest of his life, and he'll be in Canes folklore for the rest of his life. I mean, he had 2 touchdowns to Cager that night. He had a touchdown to Jeff Thomas. He had the game-winning, 41-yard touchdown to Brevin. So it's like watching that Brevin Jordan touchdown toss to win the game in the all-green unis. I can see that right now in my head, and I'll be, forever grateful to Kosi. And so, I don't know. Think about it this way. That 2018 game, that was Willie Taggart's debut against Miami with Florida State, right? So he loses that game. And then the next year he gets fired after, Jaron Williams and everybody puts the smackdown on him. He gets fired, and now Kosi's going to go play for him. So he's at FAU. He's going to do his thing, and he's going to play. He's going to probably have a hell of a rest of his career at FAU, and I've always been a big Kosi guy.
Yeah, I'm glad he's going to get the opportunity, to compete and start
absolutely
at a high level. I kind of want to bring this up. I think both you and I have kind of heard some rumblings about guys that might be entering the transfer portal.
Yeah.
What are kind of, I don't think we want to say names, but specifically,
Nah.
but what are kind of the positions you're looking at that like you could see a guy or two leaving?
Yeah. So I think you saw the stuff broke today on the internet about that 5-star receiver from Notre Dame that
Yeah.
entered the transfer portal. And it was made known publicly that Miami was really, really interested. So they're obviously going to be in contact if they haven't been already. I think when you see all this thing flush out, I think if you have 12 scholarship receivers on your roster and you're already going to look for a 13th and snag this guy from Notre Dame, it would not surprise me. And it would probably line up with some of the internet banter we've seen over the last week that we maybe see a receiver or two leave and hit the transfer portal. And usually that stuff happens after spring, but before fall camp. So yeah, I know you and I have talked off air about some names, but we don't want to put any sizzle on any of those rumors until stuff becomes real.
We got to shout out AB here, man. He's blowing up the comments.
Oh, there he is.
What's
Yes.
up, AB?
Yeah, and if you guys haven't ever went to stickersbyab.com, that's stickers with a Z on the end. I got my cards box here full of stickers by AB. I got them on the side of my beverage fridge in the garage. So yeah, stickers by AB. I think we definitely got to get my man on the show sometime.
I know, man. We gotta have him on sometime.
Absolutely.
So you talk a little bit about receiver. I think I wouldn't be surprised if there's multiple guys leaving. Maybe some upperclassmen and some underclassmen that maybe aren't, want to get some more burn, get some more playing time.
Yeah.
I think too, I wouldn't be surprised if we see maybe a linebacker or two, because I mean, it's looking like some of the younger guys are going to get more play,
Absolutely.
So I wouldn't be surprised if we saw someone there.
Mm-hmm.
And then also too, just because it's such a crowded room now, especially with James Williams coming on and Avante kind of breaking out, I think the safeties, you got to look there too. There's a lot of names there.
Yeah, I think since they made it announced that Amari Carter was switching to striker, and then you're going to look at him and probably Keontra splitting reps there and stuff like that. Of course, you have Gilbert Frierson that's going to be in the mix as well. But this safety thing, man, if you want to talk about the best room on the football team, arguably against running back, this safety group, man, you're gonna probably throw out Bubba Bolden and Gervin Hall to start against Alabama, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then you tell me how many games it will be before Avante Williams or James Williams gets one of those starting roles. I mean, I think Bubba Bolden's a first round or second round draft pick next year, but Avante Williams and James Williams are absolute freaks. The two number one safeties in the last two classes are on this football team. So
that's insane.
Yeah, seriously, man. James Williams and Leonard Taylor arrive on campus in 12 days. So that's gonna be a different looking secondary and safety room.
Yeah. Is there kind of any other position you're looking at that maybe we might see someone?
I don't think so. Not from anything that I've heard. And I think a lot of these things you can't predict, but I think that you will probably see something happen in the receiver room, especially if you add the Notre Dame guy. I think it's impossible to, 13 wide receivers, dudes that are in the 9, 10, 11, 12 spots are not going to get any burn this year at all. So maybe, if it's some underclassmen involved in a lot of the playing time, maybe it's time to move on and check a different lookout that might be better for their career,
Yeah, absolutely. And then also too, just kind of switching gears a little bit here. We talk about guys that might be entering the portal. We brought up the Notre Dame receiver. What is his name? Jordan.
Something Johnson or something like that.
Jordan Johnson or something
like that.
He was a 5-star guy, highly talented, obviously. What do you think are the positions that they're going to be looking to address? I feel like this is kind of something that's constantly changing.
Are you talking about for the portal or?
Yeah, for the portal. And I feel like too, I mean, how do you feel? I asked Kaniax this last week, but obviously, I want to ask you, how do you feel about Keontra getting a run at weak side linebacker?
Yeah, I mean, it's something that I guess was bound to happen. You know that there's Avery Huffs has got a lot of playing time that he's going to get this year, and you know, Corey Flagg looked real good in the spring game. There was some moments where there was a little bit off, but I think I'm all game for Keontra if he's flushing out of the striker position. He's going to do weak side linebacker, and he's going to maybe split time with Avery Huff, or maybe Huff's going to play, you know, on the other side. But I think for me, if I'm looking to address the transfer portal, it's going to be linebacker, it's going to be wide receiver, and I think Mike Harley and Rambo are going to have those top two spots locked up, but it's who's going to be wide receiver 3 and 4, and it remains to be seen. And maybe that's why Manny and the guys are trying to get this Notre Dame guy, because Rambo, Harley, and this guy might be the move.
Yeah. Category 5 Kane says, with the Notre Dame receiver, I'd rather not take away reps from Keyshawn. I respect that. I think Keyshawn's going to be a monster, but
he is.
I think that Keyshawn might leap some upperclassmen though for playing time, so I don't think it'll really, make a huge difference.
Yeah, well, big shout out to my dude, Category 5 Canes, man. He's been a follower on my Instagram, 5x_national_champs for a long time, and me and him chatted up all the time. And you know, I think if the Notre Dame thing doesn't pan out, I am absolutely happy with Keyshawn Smith and Mike Redding at wide receivers 3 and 4, or you mix Xavier Restrepo in. So you have the 3 and 4 be a mix of Keyshawn, Restrepo, and Mike Redding. Absolutely, totally cool with that for wide receiver 3 and 4.
Yeah. I think it's always going to be a position where we're looking for more added depth, right? Just based on, recent history.
Yeah, based on the last 2 years of history, I think it'd be foolish not to. Absolutely.
So I kind of wanted to ask you this too, since we're on the topic of the receivers. I saw something, a discussion being made of like how bad of a look is it to have these transfer receivers come in, and rely on them, and not really develop your own guys. How do you kind of feel about that?
Yeah, I think it's, I think it's a punch to the gut for the underclassmen, and you're looking for the one-hit wonders, the receivers that are going to come in and ball out for a year and then get drafted. And I think it's something that maybe, I'm not going to say it's a slap in the face to the younger guys, but it's something that if I'm putting in the work and I'm doing all of the off the field things, and I'm doing my thing in the weight room, and my numbers are showing, and I had a great spring. And then I'm like, well, shit, now this other guy's transferring in from Alabama, or this guy's coming in from Texas. So there goes my spot. So absolutely that you will, by attrition, flush out some people in the bottom of that depth chart that maybe we're close to cracking that top 4. Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. So, before we talk a little bit more Canes, do you want to get into a new segment that I have for us?
Yeah, dude. What do you got, dude? You haven't talked about this one, so what are we rolling with?
So Caniac's got to bring it up.
Yeah. Let's see what
is paying attention.
Whoa.
This week in Canes history. So about 7 years ago, hopefully Caniacs can play the video. You got that video, Caniacs? Let's see.
There he went.
Oh, he gone. 7 years ago, about to the day, one of my favorite Canes, and I think people are going to laugh at me for this, Pat O'Donnell, the punter. I don't know if you remember him.
Yeah, you told. You told me.
One of the swollest punters I've ever seen in my life. Looking like he could play linebacker for the Canes this year. Got drafted by the Bears. I want to say, and it was in like the 6th round. The reason why we're talking about this is because he was one of my favorite players, but also he held the school record for the punting average. I think it was 47.1, but I think Lou Headley actually broke it last season. Because
I think he did.
Yeah, I believe he had a little higher average than that. But something, you want to know some crazy things? We just had the draft, so kind of want to, relate this to that. He ran a 4.64 in the 40.
Which is pretty crazy for a punter.
As a punter.
Yeah.
And he did the bench press 23 times. You want to know? Okay, 23 times. Just to put this in perspective, it was better than 19 running backs, 21 defensive linemen, including the number 1 overall pick, Jadeveon Clowney.
That's what you. That's I remember you telling me that.
Yeah, and all 37 wide receivers.
All 37. This dude benched more than all 37.
All of them.
So it sounds like that dude was probably on some fucking creatine and hydroxy cut, dude, and he probably was juiced up, dude.
Yeah,
You're
well, he's
out benching every wide receiver.
Yeah, he was like, man, I forget his measurements. I think he was like 6'5", like 230 or something like that. So big dude.
Mhm.
But yeah, so we're gonna try to do one of these every week. We'll kind of see how it goes. It just depends on if anything happened this
Happens
week,
for the week.
you know, if
Happens for the
anything
week.
happened for the week. But yeah, just a little fun thing. Kind of shifting back though to current Canes talk. Obviously, I feel like Canes fans are getting a little more excited for Alabama. I think it's, you know, the whole spring ball, you know, and seeing all the young quarterbacks, seeing all these guys performing well, you know, that are early enrollees and stuff. How has your opinion shifted in any way towards Alabama? I don't even think we've talked about this. Like, what are your feelings on that game?
We haven't, no. And I think, you know, once you and I see the spread, then we'll know a little clearer, you know, is that I'm assuming it's for sure going to be a double-digit spread. But when that spread comes out, then we'll know a little more and be able to kind of gauge it. But is this game going to be a blowout? Absolutely not. And do the Miami Hurricanes have a chance to win this game? With De'Aaron King under center, absolutely so. We lost one starter on offense from last season. That's Brevin Jordan. And we lost two starters on defense from last season. Big starters in Quincy Roche and Jalen Phillips. But you lost three starters on both sides of the ball combined. And I don't know if you saw, there was something online the other day that Miami is tied for the second most returning starters in all of college football. So if there's any year and any Miami team that's going to hang with the juggernaut and the college football powerhouse that is Alabama, it's a team with this many returning players. I'll take Will Mallory with Brevin Jordan gone, Will Mallory coming in, and let's rock and roll, dude. Let's rock and roll.
Oh, we got Category 5 Canes in here. What's going on, man?
What's up, y'all?
Oh, Category 5, here we go.
How y'all doing?
Pretty good. We were just talking about the Bama game because I was going to mention, you know, all the guys that got drafted from Alabama. And obviously we were talking spring ball and, you know, how people's opinions have changed on this team, more hopeful and stuff. What are your thoughts on that game?
Well, for the Bama game, honestly, I'm like super optimistic. I think people are, I guess, over exaggerating like the linebacker situation a bit because I think they got drastically better. And Keontre Smith looked great on the outside, like as an outside backer. So I think we're going to be straight. And then you throw Derek King in there, and then I don't know. Whenever he's in, you can win the game, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's crazy too, man. The guy, have you seen the videos of him like working out and stuff, man, Chris?
Yeah, dude, he's walking on his, you know, MCL, ACL. He's walking on it right now. He's feeling good, and I think with the second most returning starters in college football coming back, if there's any year that you're going to go in and play Alabama on a neutral field and stand a good chance of putting up some numbers, it's going to be a De'Aaron King and a Rhett Lashley offense, and hopefully Don Chaney's back by that time. If not, you're going to get the two-headed double dose of Cam Harris and Jalen Knighton, but. Yeah, man, I'm excited. This secondary under T-Rob will be marked improved from last year. So I want to see a T-Rob secondary in game one with all the bright lights. And yeah, we'll see what we're all about. But by no means is this going to be a slaughter.
No, I don't think it's going to be a blowout or anything, especially since it's going to be Bryce Young's first actual start. So
that's true, yeah.
I've noticed, like, by watching him, that he has a really long, like, wind up on his throw. Mm-hmm. And I'm sure Coach T-Rob is going to see that and then, you know.
Maybe telegraph the passes a bit.
Yeah.
Plus, Bryce Young is a modern-day guy. I fucking can't stand those modern-day quarterbacks, man. I'm, like, right down the street from him.
Yeah. How about some exotic blitz packages and some different looks in the secondary when it comes to personnel that you're going to get from Manny Diaz that probably Blake Baker couldn't even fucking dream about on his wildest dream, dude. You're going to see what a real defense looks like personnel maybe not matching up exactly to 2018, but you're going to see, the last time Manny ran the D, you're going to see a marked improvement on the defense. And just like Category 5 Kane said, the linebacker play could not be any worse than last year. So is it a glaring link, a weak link? I'm not sure, but I think defensive line is what we want to see. We want to see how the defensive line flushes out.
What worries me about the D-line is their discipline. Like if you saw in the spring game, jumping off sides, all that. We can't do that against Bama if we want a chance.
And then, I mean, you have a couple guys that aren't used to starting. How much of that is going to be an issue? I know spring is kind of where you work out those kinks, but, you can't afford to make those type of, errors. You look at, like, I don't know if you guys remember against Clemson. Who was it? Was it Quincy? Who was it when Quincy Roche had like a pick or something, but someone was off sides? Do you remember that?
No,
I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, it can just shift the game. You know what I mean? Like that could have turned in our favor. Obviously, I don't know if we would have won the game, but just things like that, penalties can just stack up against you. And just,
honestly, I think in Clemson, I don't think the scoreboard showed how we played, because I think we played a lot better than we did. It was just a drop pass, a slightly overshot like ball, like stuff like little mistakes like that. The little things that we needed to do right that game to win, we just didn't do it.
Yeah,
it's true. Yeah, that game slipped away pretty quick.
No, yeah, absolutely. So let me ask you guys. Obviously, so we talk about the Bama game individually. I don't think I've even asked you this, Chris, of your projection for the record projection. What are your guys' thoughts going forward? Like, are we going to be a contender to win the conference, or not beat Clemson, but win our division? Like, what do you guys kind of think?
Well, I think it has to be. I think you got to be. This is year 3 of Manny Diaz as head coach. You improved your offensive coordinator last year and your offense. Now Manny Diaz taking over the defense should be an improvement over Blake Baker. I think it has to be Coastal champs. You have to be playing against Clemson for the ACC title for this trajectory to be heading in the right direction. So I would say, regardless of what the win total is, if it's not playing Clemson for the ACC title, then this season is a little bit of a disappointment, considering where Manny's at as a head coach right now.
How do you feel, Category Canes?
I think that this year we're gonna focus it. I don't want to think too far ahead. I want to see what we do against Bama first, and then after that, I want to focus on slaughtering UNC.
Yeah, absolutely.
I would love that too.
And then making FSU, let's go 5-0.
Yeah, let's go 5-0. Let's go 5-0, and we'll have Mackenzie Milton and see if he can take his shot at the Canes and see what he can do. So,
nah, he's not gonna.
Not gonna happen. Not gonna happen.
No.
Did you guys see a while ago when FSU posted that video of him running and he had like that huge brace on, and the poor guy looked like he could not run. Like I felt bad for him. I was like, oof.
He looked like the lamp from Pixar.
Yeah, I don't know if he.
He did, dude.
Man.
He did.
I was like, I don't know if you should be playing football, man. It looks like one more hit and you're not gonna be able to walk the rest of your life. Like that does not look good.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I don't know if this is really taking a shot, but if you guys saw that play in the spring where the offensive lineman was doing like a spin move on the line against like a defensive lineman, and like I would love to pull up the clip right now, but I can't.
No, I did not see that. But I mean, I think you and I all three of us could spend the next 20 minutes making jokes and talking about how shitty FSU's offensive line is. We could make that the rest of the show if we wanted.
I could just shit on FSU the rest of the night.
Yeah, absolutely.
If we really wanted to.
Absolutely.
So Chris, moving forward, what's kind of like, I know we kind of mentioned this a little bit. Is Alabama going to be the measuring stick of like how you feel about this team? Like, are you going to take that game to heart? Do you get what I'm saying? Like how much can we read into that game?
Well, I know before previously, I thought, that for me, the season started after Alabama. So we wanted to see what the measuring stick looked like against Alabama. But this is a game that a lot of new starters on Alabama's staff and a lot of returning starters on Miami. So for me, this is the litmus test. This is against the powerhouse, the perennial powerhouse of the last decade. And so I want to see, with Manny Diaz back on defense, Rhett Lashley calling plays, T-Rob over the secondary, with De'Aaron King under center, when you have that type of a dual threat, I want to see what we can do. And I'm not going to give this one away to an Alabama blowout. So for me, this first game is just as much a part of the rest of the season as the post-Alabama schedule is, for sure.
Yeah.
What do we got down there? We got a question.
Yeah. He was saying, who do you think will be starting QB week 1? But I think you literally answered it as it came up, because you said De'Aaron King will be there taking snaps.
Yeah, I think if you watch De'Aaron's Instagram story and you watch any of his stuff over the last month and a half, that dude's going to be under center against Alabama. Absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, there's talk
no
about him.
chance.
There's talk about him being ready for fall camp, right? Like completely ready.
Yeah. And I think fall camp is last week of July or first week of August. You get it 30 days before the season opens. So I think you're going to see De'Aaron King. I mean, Rhett Lashley said he's never seen a dude with this kind of work ethic when it comes to what time he's in the facility, doing his rehab, working out, doing non-contact and different drills on the sideline during the spring. I mean, just this guy's, he's cut from a different cloth. Absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, with De'Aaron King as quarterback, you have to feel good with our chances against anyone.
You do. Yeah. I mean, I think we'll see where things go from here, but I don't want to throw Jake Garcia or Tyler Van Dyke against Alabama for the first game of their college career. And I think both those guys will be great in 2022, wherever that battle goes, but I don't want to see them under center against Alabama for their first college game. Not that game.
Can you believe, though, too, that there are some Canes fans that literally think that, like, Jake Garcia should start over De'Aaron King just because of, like, the spring game and everything?
I saw it on Facebook, in that Facebook Canes group that's got 40,000 some people on there. And I saw a couple people posted on Twitter, and I was just like, dude, Jake Garcia is the real deal. And based on the spring, we probably say he has the edge going into 2022. But Jake Garcia should not be starting over De'Aaron King to start the 2021 season against Alabama. No. He should not be. And if you think that he should be, then go take a fucking drug test, because there's no way you're going to pass that.
Yeah, absolutely.
We got one more.
Go. Yeah, O-line play. Obviously terrible last season. Well, I wouldn't say terrible. It was I think it was a small step forward than how it was a couple 2 years ago. What do you guys think? I think we have the depth this season, but kind of what are your expectations for this season? I'll hand it over to Category 5 Canes.
Well, if you see so if you look at the NFL, right, you see their mock drafts, like early mock drafts for next year, they have high expectations for Zion Nelson, sorry.
Yeah, Zion, yeah.
So I think he's going to take that step forward, and he's going to use that as motivation, and it's just going to take his game to another level. So that's where I stand there. And then from there, I just see the whole O-line. This is the second year of them all together. Because none of them left. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, that's where I stand with that.
Think about this too. 2 years ago, the Miami offensive line in 2019 gave up more sacks than any team in college football. And that number was drastically reduced last year in 2020. So I've been talking about it for the last 4 or 5 months. I've been telling everybody that would listen when it comes to Isaiah Walker and Jalen Rivers. And it looks like that Isaiah Walker has a little bit more time to come along, but Jalen Rivers is going to start at left guard, and he's going to start over Ja'Kai Clark. I mean, Jalen Rivers is going to be your starting left guard as a high school All-American, the real deal. And by all accounts, everybody says he's the hardest hitter on the O-line. So if you go left to right with Zion, Jalen Rivers. You got Gaynor at center. We know that the switch happened and Navon Donaldson's going to play right guard. And then on the far right tackle, it remains to be seen whether it's going to be Jared Williams or DJ Scaife. DJ Scaife actually has the most starts of any offensive lineman on the team. But, what is this? Jared Williams' 7th year of college football after he came over from Houston. So
the Scott Patchen year.
It is the Scott Passion year. We got Everything Kane on the bottom, says Zion has a lot to improve technique wise, gets away with a lot because of his athleticism. So I think, when you think about it, Zion got baptized under fire in that Florida game 2 years ago as a true freshman. And, he was barely a 3-star. He was an App State decommit, and he got his shit lit up against Florida in the first game of his college career. So from then to now, and you throw in some of the too deep that we got on the O-line, I'm super pumped. And actually, in just over a month, we're going to have 3-time Miami Hurricanes national champion center Kelvin Harris is going to be on our show. He won titles under Jimmy, won titles under Dennis, and we're going to have him on the show. And all we're going to talk about is O-line. And I'm super pumped because that dude got me into the O-line listening to him talk the last couple years.
Yeah, absolutely. So kind of reflecting on we got someone joining here. Who do we got here?
Hey guys, how we doing tonight?
Oh, we got Coach on.
Coach, what's happening
tonight, Coach?
Wow, man, how are you guys doing?
Pretty good. We're just talking some O-line right now. I know you had just commented about Zion.
Oh, he's such a great athlete, and he's able to get so much done. I mean, he's totally transformed his body and really come a long way since the opening night up in Orlando at Camping World Stadium against the Gators.
Yeah. So just while we're on the topic, I want to talk about one more name. What do you guys kind of expect here from Navon Donaldson? We'll start with Coach.
With Navon, it's all going to be predicated on how much weight he's lost and how much strength he's gained. He's got to lose another 20, 25 pounds. But he's got to do it in a healthy and progressive way where he's continuing to gain strength. And that's a very tough thing to do. But big guys like Navon, they're used to, they've got 20 some odd years carrying this weight just about. And people say, well, he's a big frame kid. He's been a big frame kid his whole life. So the ability to become a little bit leaner, a little bit stronger, improve his fast twitch, things of that nature that hopefully Coach Feely can get done with him over the next 3 months, will get him ready for fall camp. And that's the big challenge for him. Is he totally going to buy in and do everything that it takes? It takes a lot of sacrifice, gentlemen, to get your body where it needs to get to, and then to maintain that. And I'll give you a great comparison. The kid that played left tackle at Louisville, who's just finished his first year with the Jets, Mickey Becton. It's pretty much the same situation. You got to transform your body. So that's pretty where Navon's really got to focus the next 3 months.
Yeah. What about you, Category 5 Canes?
I think he covered up pretty much everything I would have said. He just needs to get stronger. That's probably like what I agree with the most.
Yeah, and I think it was Mike Harley that referenced that. Was it Mike Harley?
Yeah,
that referenced that he looks the most mobile that he's been since he came on campus, right? So I mean, that's kind of what I'm excited for. But like, what do you think, Chris?
Yeah, dude, this is just like Coach said. Look at his body. I mean, this is like you're watching the Blind Side sequel. I mean, this is his NFL year, right? This is his bag year. So missed last season, dealt with the injuries, sat out, and now it's time with that big of a frame. If he slimmed down a little bit, imagine what the run game looks like with Navon Donaldson. Run game was okay last year, right? But imagine what it looks like with Navon Donaldson, and you're coming off that right guard. So I think this is a huge year for him. And you have two absolute monsters on the offensive line in Zion and Navon. But I'm telling you, man, that left guard, Jalen Rivers, is going to be causing everybody to say, who the hell is this guy? And if you didn't remember him 2 years ago in high school as an All-American, this dude's probably going to start at left guard as a true freshman here against Alabama.
So we got another question from BLK 305 Miami. Do you guys think Thad Franklin will get playing time I mean, I personally think he will, just because, I mean, do we know how long Chaney is going to be out? He's going to be out at least the start of the season, right?
Yeah, they said it was
I believe.
questionable for the Alabama game. That
Okay.
questionable that he'd be ready.
Yeah, so when you take that into account, I think that it's, he has a solid chance. Let's what do you think, Coach? What do you think of Thad Franklin?
I think you'll have the opportunity to contribute when you look at the injury situation across the board in that room specifically. You're not just looking at Chaney and his situation. You're also looking at the Rooster, who had a decent spring, who was getting his feet back and dealt with his own shoulder injury. But you're still looking at two guys that are nicked up and they're young. And with Chaney, there's a history of not being healthy enough with the shoulder. So when you look at, I think this is his second or third surgery for Chaney, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
So there's question marks. There will be opportunities to play. So will he contribute? I definitely think he will. But don't forget about the kid from Miami, Carroll City. Don't forget about Polo Man, because one thing about him, he might not be your shiftiest guy, and he's pretty much an in between the tackles kind of runner. But Cam is definitely one of these guys that South Florida is all about. He's a competitor. He's got an ego. He's got a chip on his shoulder. He wasn't happy last year. He wasn't trying to create an issue in the locker room. But competitors like that are what we need, because you've got to be able to step up and take advantage of the opportunity. So, will Franklin play? Yes, but I'm putting my money first and foremost on Cam.
Okay.
And he's the best pass protector, by the way.
Yeah,
That's
absolutely. Category 5 Canes. What are your thoughts kind of on Thad Franklin and maybe the running back room in general?
I mean, I think Thad's a hard runner. I think you can't go wrong with not playing him, because you have to think like Knighton and Cam are there and they've had experience and they're ready to go. I mean, he's had his struggles with injuries and talking about Knighton. But I don't think it's going to be that big of a problem, because I think this summer he's going to focus on like his strength a lot and like getting his body ready, that he didn't necessarily get to focus on during the off season last year. And then with that, I'm pretty sure the rules you can play 4 games before you redshirt, right?
That's right. Yep.
So I think he'll take advantage of those 4 games, and then he'll redshirt so that we can use him later on and he can like take over the show eventually.
Yeah.
There you go.
Chris, how do you feel?
Yeah, I think he'll get a little bit of burn, but I like what Coach said when you talk about Cam Harris, great in pass protection. Rooster a little shiftier. Maybe you look at Don Chaney as he's kind of got the power and the strength to get outside. But hey, if I'm Cam Harris and I'm coming through the A gap, or I'm busting through that offensive line, I dare a defender to lower their shoulder on Cam Harris, right? Because that dude's all about trucking cats, running right over the top of them, bulldozing them. And that's the kind of tough-nosed, chip-on-the-shoulder runner that I like. And so, hey, this is Cam Harris's bag year as well. So we'll see what happens with Cam. I say you give him the start against Bama and until he proves otherwise, and then we'll see what the splits and carries looks like between Rooster or if Chaney's even back by then.
Yeah, definitely feel like Cam is slept on among a lot of Canes fans. Speaking of getting slept on, I wanted to ask you guys individually. We'll start with Coach. Who's someone that maybe isn't getting that notoriety, isn't getting talked about, that you think is in for like a breakout year or a good year?
Wow, there's a couple of guys that come to mind right away. And a lot of people always point out the negative with the first kid I'm going to talk about. If you know football and you know trench play, Corey Gaynor is a great leader. He's one of those type of kids that finds a way to get in the league.
Yeah.
People say, well, he's an overachiever. He's not a great athlete. He's not extremely strong. He's not quick enough. His hands are a little bit heavy, at times a little slow. I'd say what Corey is. Corey is an old school center. And the oldest guy around here that that knows offensive play in this area, offensive line play in this area, is a guy by the name of Don Bailey Jr.
Oh yeah.
And I love listening to his breakdowns of Corey. There's been a couple of film segments they've had in a couple of the channel, and you just listen to them, and then you watch Corey play. He gets everything. He makes the proper checks, proper calls. Does it get bulldozed at times? He kind of does, based on having to always understand that he's got to help his right side and his left side. If you look at his film with Navon, when Navon played his best ball, we didn't have that big of an issue. And then the following year, he didn't play. He redshirted. So I think Corey's one kid that gets overlooked. The next kid that gets overlooked, in my opinion, is a guy from Duval County. He's a defensive tackle, and he's a big kid. He still doesn't know how to use his body. He's got a hell of a lot better. And now that Coach Simpson's back with him, I'm looking for Miller to have a great year. He's a big kid. His endurance wasn't there, but he's made a lot of progress. And if you watch his film, the guy always can basically bring two guys to defend him.
Yep.
When you got two guys on you on the offensive line, even if it's a chipping situation, you're pretty much occupying two guys. So that's going to help somebody else down the road. In my opinion, him and Ford would be better off in a 3-4 type of scheme than what we utilize based on their size alone. That's another guy that I think has a great chance. Those are the two main guys. And I'm sorry to stick to the trenches, but I always tell you guys, it begins and ends there.
Absolutely. All right. What about you, Category 5 Canes? We'll kind of end the guest segment on this. What about you as far as the player that's maybe being slept on that you're looking forward to?
All right. So I wouldn't say a breakout year that I expect from this player, but I feel like he's going to get on the field. And once he gets on the field, Canes fans are going to fall in love with him. And that's Mike Redding. I genuinely think that he's going to get on the field somehow, some way. And when he does, he's just going to take over from there.
Absolutely. And Mike Redding already booked on this show. He will be on next month with us. So Mike Redding on the Canes Call-In podcast next month. So I agree, man. For me, breakout year, maybe slept on. I think, people are starting to hear about him. So maybe not so much slept on is going to be Avante Williams this year. Watch what Avante Williams does when he gets to play opposite of Bubba Bolden. And that's if Gervin has another down year like he had last year. For me, it's Avante Williams. This is going to be an awesome, awesome year for Canes fans to get introduced to the number one safety from a couple cycles ago.
Yeah. Thank you guys. Thanks, Coach and Category 5 Canes for coming on, man. We appreciate it.
Hell yeah.
My pleasure, guys. Go Canes. My pleasure.
Go Canes.
All right, y'all. Have a nice day.
Go Canes. Thanks for joining us, guys.
See ya, boys.
See ya.
So, I guess we can address this one. Well, actually, before we talk about DeAndre Johnson, I want to talk about someone else. We talk about, someone that I think that can have a breakthrough. I don't know about breakthrough season, but I think someone that isn't talked about at all that I really like. I don't know if you were on the show when we talked about this. Cam Williams.
Absolutely.
Lengthy guy. Greg Rousseau in an interview had said that he's the guy that kind of reminds him the most of himself just because of that length and athleticism. I think it's just a matter of putting it all together. He's got a lot of raw talent. I think that, right now, I think next to DeAndre, there's an open spot. Anyone can take it, right?
It is. Absolutely. And that's what I was just going to say. We don't know, and we won't know until we watch the whole fall camp, whether that opposite defensive end, opposite of DeAndre, who's probably a shoo-in for the starting defensive end, is it going to be Zach McLeod? Is it going to be Jafari, which Canes fans are salivating over? Or are you going to get Cam Williams? Or are you going to get Chance Williams, who I absolutely love? So we don't know. We don't know at all who's going to be that starting defensive end. And I think that's what makes August so exciting as Canes fans.
Yeah, absolutely. And so kind of shifting gears, talking about, the comment just left here. BLK 305 Miami, though, asked, what's our opinion of DeAndre Johnson?
There is DeAndre Johnson. So he looked real good in the spring game, and he caused some disruption in the backfield. They caught, once you got the guy, you couldn't bring the quarterback down, but he caused some disruption in the backfield. And
did you see that jump he got off of when he had that safety on Jake Garcia?
Oh yeah.
Man, and not just the jump, like he was just so explosive with it too. It really impressed. I was not expecting that.
Well, and I think he's the shoe-in against Bama. But I'm in the Jafari Harvey camp, man. I mean, that guy is so chiseled. He looks the part. He acts the part. He's built like the part. So I want this summer to be the summer of Jafari Harvey. And then maybe we'll let some of those other 3 names do some backup duty to Jafari. And just like Coach brought up, you're going to have Nesta Silvera in the middle of that D-line. And then who are you putting on the other side? Is Jared Harrison Hunt going to get it? Is Jordan Miller going to get it? You're going to put big John Ford in there. John Ford and Jordan Miller are big body dudes that might require the double team, but you can't sleep on Jared Harrison Hunt, man. Mm-hmm. He absolutely thrashed offensive lines when he was in last year. So good problem to have in the interior of the defensive line, I would say.
Yeah, absolutely. So, man, you feel good about this one?
I feel good about this one. Let's end it with a new little segment that we're going to do on most weeks. And if my dude Caniacs, our producer, can rock the stat, we're going to call it Stat of the Week. We promise we're going to have some music for you next time we do it. So our Stat of the Week on the Canes Callin' podcast, coming fresh off the NFL draft. We know that Jalen Phillips and Greg Rousseau are the first defensive end combo from the same school to be drafted in the first round since 2006 when NC State did it. So we're talking 15 years since 2 defensive ends went in the first round from the same school. And it was 2 years prior to that. In 2004 was the last time a Miami defensive end went in the first round. And so, this is a lot to do with the production that we've seen on the defensive line. Certainly Jess Simpson, now that he's back, is going to help these crop of defensive ends. But yeah, first time in 15 years, 2 defensive ends go from the same. Yeah, there it is. Mario Williams on the bottom. That's exactly was one of the guys.
Who was
so
the other one?
I can't remember who the other one. I think Mario Williams might've been the first pick, and I can't remember the other NC State guy in 2006, but that's a long time, right? 15 years.
Wow. Well, man, I know Caniacs isn't going to be able to say anything, but we're ready. We're excited to have you back on here, man. Ready to move forward. They ain't ready for us.
Absolutely. I appreciate it, guys. And again, today's the first show back on with the crew. Caniacs will be with us next week. The 3 of us, first show back. And we got some big things coming. If you guys been watching the ticker on the bottom, my dude Mike Harley's going to be on the show next week. Then we're going to go into Roman from the OBB after that. We got Truly Jazz coming on the 3rd week of May. We're going to talk graphic design and most importantly, some recruiting. And then we're going to end the month with John Michaels from 680 The Fan out of Atlanta, and also the State of Miami podcast. So, hey, you can check Matty Ice out on Twitter. You can check me out on Instagram, 5X_national_champs. And until next week, let's get some Canes players on this show, baby.
Oh, we will. It's in the works.
Let's throw it up, baby.
Oh, yeah.